Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for another edition of WOWSA Live with our host, Ned Denison. Ned?
Hello, I'm an epic marathon swimmer and chairperson of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. In our sport, every swimmer and every crew will understand there are times when things change. In the middle of a big swim, the current isn't behaving, the wind picks up, and you've got to navigate these turbulent times. Wanted to take advantage of Anthony's experience both in the sport and in business to pose him a couple of questions. So the first one, Anthony, would be, when you're a business executive, how do you handle turbulent times in your business and trying to make sure you keep your employees getting paid, your customers still loving you, your product development still happening? How do business executives handle these? And we might make a comparison to swimmers.
I think the first and most important thing is to make sure you're dealing in reality. And that's easy to say and really hard to do. But it's very critically important to embrace the reality of the situation and what's really going on. And it's also really important, I think, not to move too fast and not to make too many assumptions. So, in the middle of this COVID-19 issue, we just don't know enough. And I know there's lots of opinions about this is not a big deal. This is a big deal. This is going to, have another spike. It's going to have 3 spikes and all that. But, there's just not enough data points to really know with any confidence to be able what the future is going to exactly bring. So when I say deal with reality, I'm talking about dealing with reality, the immediate reality that you can see. And then the other part that I talk to my clients about is not moving too fast. You don't want to really move too fast on this because the future is so unpredictable. There's so many times that business leaders and marathon swimmers, they just want to go. They just want to do it. They just want to move. But this is really a situation where we don't know enough to move fast. And one example is I'm hearing lots and lots of companies are having the experience of actually doing okay right now. They're actually doing all right. They're not having as much of a drop off in their revenues as they anticipated. And therefore, they think, gosh, working at home is okay. We can actually cut expenses, close down office space, and we're surviving as we are. Let's just cut expenses. Let's just go that way. And we never need to open up this office space again. Well, that's okay, except that doesn't really recognize we're in just survival mode right now. We're in get by mode right now. We're in sustain mode right now. And that's what a lot of companies are able to do. But you're never going to grow a relationship over Zoom. You're never going to grow a relationship or a team over Zoom. That doesn't happen. You can't build your crew on a boat through simulation. You've got to actually go get on the boat, do things together, bond, and actually do that stuff. Businesses are the same way. It's, I used to sell multi-million-dollar systems, and you have to look somebody in the eye so that they know who you are before they trust you with that kind of transaction. And so if you think that you're going to be able to close down off your office space, send everybody home, and never have anybody in the same place anymore, you're going to sustain your business for a while, but eventually your team won't be a team. Eventually, we're forgetting that the human element is so important and that people need to be around people. People need to have that personal connection, and that's why we all feel so lonely right now. The second part I talk about a lot with my clients is really seeing this as an opportunity. There's so many things in business and in life that are unurgent but really important that would help us move forward dramatically. But we never get to it because we're so busy with the day-to-day stuff. And I'll use a personal example with you. This time of year, my son would be playing baseball and water polo. That would be taking up all of his time. We've been trying for a while to figure out how to get him to learn how to scuba dive. And so what we're doing now with this extra time, since he's not playing water polo or baseball, is he's taking the online PADI course for scuba diving. So I think businesses can do a lot of things similar to that, and that is look around, find a way to do those and really important things that will move the business forward that you don't typically have the time for if you have the time for it. So Ned, those are really, some key, really important things, right? Deal in reality, don't move too fast without enough data points, and really see this as an opportunity not just a threat to your business.
Okay, on a similar topic, for years and years, it seems like I've been saying to swimmers, that's really good. You're going to go out and do 7,000 meters tomorrow. That's really good. And you did 7,000 today and you did 10,000 yesterday. That's great. By the way, you're ahead of your meters plan. Meters aren't your problem. You've got plenty of meters in the bank. However, you are avoiding a bunch of things. And this whole question of prioritization, and my classic examples are the people who end up at the English Channel with no crew. Or the ones, and this we all have this example, or the ones who end up at a big swim and they haven't really figured out their feeding plan. And I say to people, go out and buy a carbo mix. Sit down and watch television and drink it half strength. And if you throw up, pour it all down the toilet, flush the toilet, go back to the shop and get a different brand and repeat. And get to the point where you're comfortable, whether it's the carbo powder or a gel or whatever it's going to be, get comfortable with this stuff. And then the third one for me is everybody is so eager to get in the meters that they don't spend any time on their head. So you're like, what are you going to do when the sun goes down in your swim? How are you going to handle it? How are you going to deal with your arm getting a cramp at 7 hours? Our previous guest had a great story about doing a dumb 64-kilometer swim. And at 15 and a half hours, she decided that she'd quit. Then she decided that'd be doubly dumb. And I thought that the mental process of this. So talk to us about how to prioritize, whether you're in business or swimming. So you've got your kind of your main business, and you talked a little bit about your son doing the PADI course, but there's got to be 1,000 other examples you can bring real life to.
There is, and one thing I talk a lot about, one thing I realized and through my own marathon swimming is, I used to think that it was just physical or mental. When I do keynote talks, I get asked all the time, how much of that was physical, how much of that was mental? And then the physical has a ton of parts to it, right? Like you said, it has putting in the mileage or the yardage, the meters. It has putting that in. It's knowing your feeds. It's being able to deal with the cold, being able to deal with swimming at night. That's all the physical kinds of things, right? Learning how to parallel a boat is actually a skill set, right? I mean, it seems like nothing probably to you, Ned, because you're used to it now, but I tell you, it hasn't been that long ago that I learned that skill set. It was 10 years ago I learned how to parallel a boat. That's different than popping your head up and looking for a buoy or following the black line. But those are all physical things. But I get asked all the time in these keynotes, how much is mental, how much is physical? And I used to make a joke that said, well, if you knew how much was mental, it wouldn't be mental. It wouldn't be a challenge, right? But I got the reaction I just got out of you. And that's, it's a joke that people don't really get. And so it made me think more about it and reflect more about it. And what I realized is just like there's lots and lots of different parts to what your body needs to be ready to do, there's lots and lots of different parts to what your brain needs to be ready to do. And so I've divided that up into knowledge and emotions, okay? So doing things like learning how to parallel a boat, that's a physical skill, but you have to know how to do it. Knowing what your feeds are, that's a physical thing, but you have to know how to do it. Knowing how to arrange your crew and assigning your crew to all things, that's all knowledge, right? But the hardest part of a marathon swim, the hardest part about being an entrepreneur or a business leader or anything is the emotional side. If you think about it, right, lots of people have the physical abilities to be a good CEO. Lots of people have the knowledge. How many people have MBAs and all that kind of stuff, have the knowledge to be a good CEO? But it's really the emotional aspect of managing themselves that makes them great leaders and great CEOs or decent marathon swimmers, right? And that is, you have to control your emotions. You're right. Swimming at night is an emotionally challenging thing. There's skill sets involved in how to follow the lights and all that kind of stuff at night. But being scared at night, that's an emotional thing. Having to jump off the boat in the dark in the English Channel when you can't see anything, that's an emotional fear. Being tough enough to try to go do a swim is a big deal. And I admire really anybody who has the emotional strength to even seriously try to swim. Not some of the, we all see folks that think that they're going to just tough it out and just go do it, right? And it's not a serious effort. But anybody who makes a serious effort to do or to attempt a marathon swim has my deepest admiration. Admiration. Sorry, I can't say that word today, apparently.
So one of the things,
am I making sense, Ned?
yeah, it does. One of the things I want to just drill down a little bit and make you smile. It is a skill to learn how to swim next to a kayak when your best friend or your partner with caring eyes is just right there.
Right.
That takes some skill. It takes a slightly different skill to swim next to a small inflatable boat with a small engine on it, with your two friends are on the boat. One of them is holding out a bottle, and you can see he's got his wedding ring on, and it's very close. It's very intimate.
Right.
It is a very different thing to swim next to a 20 or 25 meter long ship where they're 2 stories up. You can't see them at night behind some spotlight or something, or even if from a distance in the daylight, you can see there's a shape, but you don't necessarily can see who it is. And when that boat is going up and down in a different sequence to you because of the surge, I remember my unsuccessful English Channel first attempt. The cord was too short on the bottle. It was 3 meters. The boat would go up. The bottle would ping out of my hands because the boat would turn. I could see the bottom of the boat above me with all the barnacles, and then I could see it start to come down again. And I thought, like, none of the training or preparation I had done prepared me for the fear of that boat was going to land on top of me, because the kayak never went up there, and there were no barnacles on the bottom of the kayak. So this is one of the reasons that people do preparation. It's one of the reasons people do a relay before a solo. You kind of can simulate what it's going to be like. You get an experience of it. So when you start talking about priorities, make sure you've got a couple of mentors. Make sure you know some people who have done it before. The sport is very giving. You can find mentors. That's not a problem. And if you can't, contact me. I will find you mentors. Right. And start taking advice from them.
Yeah, no, your example's great, Ned. And in that case, think about it, right? On your swim, you're physically fine, right? Learning the knowledge that your rope needed to be longer, that was a knowledge thing. And then dealing with the fear of the situation, that was an emotional thing, right? And I agree with you 100%. The English Channel is a much more lonely swim because I couldn't communicate with the boat nearly at all in the English Channel. Right, but when I did Catalina, I had a good friend, Dan Simonelli, who was a kayaker, who was a whisper away the whole time. I never really felt alone because he was there the whole time, even though it was swimming at dark and all that kind of stuff. Just Dan was just right there for me. So my point is that again, in business or in swimming or whatever it is, you need to have a plan for all 3 components to be successful. You need a physical plan, a knowledge plan, an emotional plan. For business, for swimming, for anything you want to do, you've got to have a plan for all 3. And I guarantee you that most times when people fall short of their objective, it was one of those 3 things fell apart. It wasn't all 3. It was one of those 3 things, and it was a domino that caused the rest. And most of the time, it's the emotional side. I mean, I know a guy who got into the Catalina, swam for an hour and freaked out because it was dark. He just freaked out and got out of the water. He's physically able to do it. He knew it was going to be dark, right? He had the knowledge, but he just couldn't handle it emotionally, and he got out. So, but anyway, so again, that PKE is just really, that's something that we emphasize. What we do a lot with our clients is we come in and we figure out a plan for our clients to work on all 3 of those things.
You talk about communication, and I always smile when I see people headed off to English Channel with a small whiteboard. Like you're going to make a message that says, Auntie May says go. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm swimming along. My eyesight's not the best at the best of times, but with a bit of fogged up goggles and a bit of spray, I don't really see that whiteboard. We do something in Cork, Ireland called the torture swim once a year, where you do everything you can to mess people up. And we had one year where we had 2 channel swimmers on the escort boat or the torture boat. one was Hungarian, one was a fantastic Irish native speaker. And at the end, when we came in to do the debrief, one of the swimmers said, I couldn't understand what they were saying out there. So I asked him, I said, do you speak Hungarian? He said, no. I said, do you speak Irish? He said, no. I said, well, they were speaking Hungarian and Irish. And he said, that's not fair. I said, trust me, when you've been the English Channel for 10 hours, your own brother will be speaking Hungarian. You won't understand a word he's saying. So get used to it.
That's great counsel. That's absolutely great advice, and that's so true. It is so true. And I tell you, the English Channel is just a different animal because of that communication challenge. It's just a different animal, right? And again, it comes back to that emotional side because you can't communicate, right? You have to be really, really comfortable with what's going on inside your head. And so there's all kinds of things in business to do. I won't go into all that. But for me, when I do my training swims, I intentionally make them as boring as possible. A normal set for me is 100 100s on the 140. And I'll do that all day long. I'll do that. It takes me 2 hours and 47 minutes, but I will do that. And I don't talk to anybody. I don't do anything. But part of that is just so I have to deal with my own head, the emotional side of things. So, and that's a short course workout. What's that?
I could tell you from personal experience, when you have 5 people doing it and somebody decides to tell a story, it takes 27 and a half minutes to tell a story because you've got a break of about 5 seconds between sets. Anthony, I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you for part 2, man.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.